all of the authors we wanted to meet, gone. Gone.
How are they gone? Why would they be gone? Is it the books that are gone, or is it the authors like just dipped? They were like, nah, we ran out of books, we're going, you don't get to meet us now. I would be fuming.
The first thing I did get was this tote, $35 at BookCon.
You have to pay for the tote even? You don't even get a free tote? That's insane. 5 author autograph reservations as supplies last. I guess that's where they get ya.
And I am a sucker for a blind date with a book.
No, a blind date with a book? Bro, no. At the jump, this was just a disorganized jumble of chaos. People spent hundreds of dollars to go to BookCon this year, and majority of people say they regret it. Imagine you're a reader, you love BookTok, you've been watching people romanticize reading for years now, annotating books, meeting authors, going to signings, building entire personalities around fictional worlds. And then you finally decide this is the year that you're going to BookCon 2026. So you buy the ticket, maybe you even buy the VIP ticket because you're like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to get access to all the first panels and reservations. You book the hotel, you plan your outfits, you literally map out which authors you're going to meet, what panels you're going to attend, what books you're hoping to get signed. Like, this is not casual. This is a full-time job. And when you get there, you almost immediately realize, like, this is off. This is not what I was promised. It's absolute chaos. And then you're just like, why did I spend the $400 on a VIP ticket? Because somehow, despite being in the massive Javits Center, everything feels cramped, chaotic, and already over. So let's talk about what BookCon was supposed to be, because a lot of people had expectations that just were not lived up to. BookCon, at least in theory, is supposed to feel like stepping inside the internet version of reading culture. It's the physical version of everything people have been watching online for years. So this isn't just an event. This is like something that people have looked forward to for a very long time. The panels are supposed to feel exciting and insightful. The author meet and greets are supposed to feel personal and intimate. And the exclusive book drops are supposed to feel special. And the whole thing is supposed to feel like you're surrounded by people who love the exact same niche things that you do. And I think that's why the expectations weren't just high, they were very specific. People did not go in just thinking, oh, I'm just gonna wander around, I'm just gonna see what happens. They went in with full itineraries. They paid to get access to certain things first. They knew which authors they wanted to meet and which books they wanted to pick up and what panels they wanted to go to. Most people were very intentional about what they wanted to see, where they wanted to go, how they wanted this day to unfold. And you might be thinking, like, why did they have such high expectations? Well, we've seen BookCon online before, very curated clips of the event taking place. Everything looks seamless, but when you're actually there, you kind of get behind the scenes. You don't see the curated content that people were posting years prior. And I know for me, like, I've been to conventions before. I went to, I forget what it was called, but it was like this health supplements convention when I worked at the health food store. I honestly don't remember what it's called, guys. I have a vlog about it. You can go check that out. That was before I did commentary content, but I filmed the whole event. And basically what you did when you went to this convention was you got to speak to certain brands. You got to take home bags and bags of free stuff. And supplements aren't cheap. They are expensive. Some supplements can cost like anywhere between 30 Canadian dollars to like 50, sometimes even 100 Canadian dollars, depending on the specific brand and the specific supplement. And so going to this convention, getting to talk to all the vendors, and also taking home almost probably thousands of dollars of free stuff is insane. And so when people see other conventions taking place and what typically goes down, and you go into BookCon and you experience what these people experienced here, you're very let down. You would be unhappy because you're not just comparing BookCon to other conventions, but almost the idealized version of BookCon that we've seen on social media over and over and over again. Which is why when BookCon started to feel rushed, inaccessible, disorganized, it doesn't just feel inconvenient. It almost feels like a waste of money and a waste of time. And it feels like the entire premise of the event is falling apart in real time.
BookCon update. It's a catastrophe. HarperCollins sold out of ARC giveaway tickets, and Penguin Random House, the line is insane. The line to get into BookCon for general admission, if you were not VIP, good luck. It is down, they were telling me, near the highway, wrapped around buildings. Y'all, this is insane. There's like no structure, just mess. So if you're here, I'm literally just walking the floor at this current point.
The cost is where this really starts to shift from, okay, that's annoying, to this is an actual problem now. Because going to something like BookCon isn't just about buying a ticket and showing up. For a lot of people, especially Canadians, because you have to fly to New York City, it's flights, hotels, food while you're there, time off work, and it adds up quickly. So you're not just spending money, but you're also actively losing money in the process. And that's before you even get into VIP. So already this is an expensive event. It doesn't matter if the general admission is a cheaper ticket or even free. The cost of going is still expensive, almost to the point where you would expect to have a good time and to be able to get some sort of free stuff. Even if you're just general admission, you're spending hundreds of dollars unless you actively live in New York City or the city and towns surrounding it. If you're coming from outside of New York City, even from a different country, then you're prepared to spend at least $1,000 for this trip alone. So there's two different staggers. I don't know if that's the right way to say this, but there's two different choices of VIP tickets. So you have VIP and then you have premium VIP. And VIP wasn't just marketed as a nicer experience, but almost like the smarter way to do the event. Like if you really want to make the most out of this event, this is the way you're going to go. And with VIP, you get a better shot at securing the things that everyone is mostly going to be fighting for. So on the BookCon website, when you look at tickets, all the tickets are sold out because obviously the event is already done. But VIP, just regular VIP, offers you weekend admission, express entry and re-entry, early access to the show floor, official BookCon 2026 gift bag, 15% official BookCon shop discount, 5 author autograph reservations as supplies last. I guess that's where they get you. Private VIP lounge access with water and charging stations. I think water would just be normal. When you're hosting an event, you offer people water. It's like a necessity to live. Anyway, private shipping service available for a fee. So you're paying for the VIP ticket and then you're also paying for private shipping service available with a fee. So this isn't actually included in the VIP. You're actually paying additional to get that service. Complimentary coat and bag check, access to Saturday night after hours events, including a fantasy themed ball. Okay. Ages 18 plus, obviously. Murder mystery parties, storytelling and open mic events, late night PJ party and book clubs, and more surprises to come, subject to capacity. Premium VIP, weekend admission, express entry and re-entry, early access to the show floor, official BookCon 2026 bag, 15% official BookCon shop discount, 10 instead of 5, author autograph reservations, as supplies last, private VIP lounge access with water and charging stations, complimentary on-site shipping service, complimentary coat and bag check, again, access to the Saturday night events, reserved seating in the main stage, must be seated 20 minutes prior to the start of the panel, and priority access to the fantasy ball, again, 18 plus, express checkout lane at official BookCon shop, and first access to BookCon 2027 tickets. After hearing the feedback for this BookCon, I don't think people are going to want to go to the next one. That's just my 2 cents. So as you can see, they promised a lot for what people were paying, but the reality did not match that at all. A lot of people came to TikTok and were like,
we paid VIP tickets and it was utter chaos.
There were multiple stories, but one that stuck out to me was a pair of sisters who paid $400 for VIP tickets so they could reserve meet and greets with their favorite authors ahead of time. They got into the system, they waited in the queue, did everything they were supposed to do, and by the time they got through, everything they wanted was gone.
I'm so disappointed with BookCon right now. My sister and I each paid $400 to be VIPs so that we would have...
Okay, each paid $400. I thought it was $400 together. I don't think my brain really comprehended how much this was when I first watched this video. $400 each. Altogether, they paid $800 for this event. Crazy.
First access to making reservations for the authors and the panels, and we get put in a random queue. Okay, great. We wait. Takes about 20 something minutes for us to get through the queue. By the time we get in, again, as VIPs, all of the authors we wanted to meet, gone.
How are they gone? Why would they be gone? Is it the books that are gone, or is it the authors like just dipped? They were like, nah, we ran out of books. We're going. You don't get to meet us now. I would be fuming.
This is an event at the Javits Center, and if you pay for VIP, you'd think you'd have actually early access to be able to get these tickets.
For $400 each? Yeah, you'd think so.
Lee Bardugo, sold out. Rachel Gillick, sold out. Rachel Reed, sold out. Like, Like the fact that these authors are going, or the reason why we were willing to pay for this VIP ticket, and now we don't even get to have the experience to get to meet these authors.
I wonder if they'd actually be able to request a refund, because they were promised that they would get like first dibs on this stuff. And the queue was only 20 minutes long, so you wouldn't think that everything would be gone, considering, you know, they sold the tickets, they knew how many people were coming. You think they would make sure that they had enough stuff for at least everyone to get one thing each. I don't know how many people went to this event, but you think that they would be better prepared, is what I'm trying to say. So if someone's unhappy with their experience where they paid $400, I think they really should be able to request a refund, because they paid this for the purpose of meeting those specific authors, and they were just gone.
I get the books that we love so much signed, and it's really, really disappointing that this has been our experience. We need to do better, BookCon. And not to even mention that the people that have general admission tickets that are going to be getting our access to reservations on Thursday, like there's going to be nothing left. Like what?
Again, they should have been better prepared. I don't know why they would sell more tickets than they could actually handle.
Like why, and the fact that they people can reserve multiple slots with the same author, like that pisses me off, that someone could have, you know, reserved 4 different slots with any of those different authors just because they can and because they're selfish.
It should just be 1 spot per person for a reservation to make sure everyone gets a fair experience and is able to meet their favorite authors. That's just how it should have been run.
And not leaving it for other people. So you should be limited to 1 slot per author to offer more opportunities for other people to be able to reserve and meet these authors, especially if you're a VIP.
Exactly. Even if you brought a book to get signed, why would the authors just be gone? I don't know if that's exactly what she meant. Either way, that's just a horrible experience. And I think it's really hard to ignore that, because it shows that the issue wasn't just like things sold out or things weren't available or I couldn't get what I wanted to get. It's that the whole event wasn't built in a way that was actually able to support the amount of people that were going. If VIP still funnels you into the same bottleneck as everyone else, then it's not really a priority. It's not really a luxury experience. It just feels like it is because you're buying into it and you're paying the $400 price tag. And this creates a very weird disconnect and a very huge amount of disappointment when you feel like you've done everything right. They paid more, they planned ahead, they did everything they could to ensure that they would be able to experience this event to the fullest, just to end up with the same outcome as general admission. No thank you. But before we get any more into the video, let's talk about today's sponsor, Cowboy Colostrum. This is something I've been adding into my routine every single evening. You can take it in the morning, you can take it in the evening, you can take it before meals. But lately I've been trying to figure out how to feel better overall. I have digestive issues, sorry for the TMI. I have immunity issues. I catch literally every single thing. So anything that can help boost my immunity, I'm all for. But instead of just like a quick fix, I wanted something that would help me feel good from the inside out, which made me really want to try Cowboy Colostrum. Every health issue that you have really does start within the gut. And so if you want better skin, hair, nails, if you want better immunity, if you want more stable energy, you need to figure out how you can support your gut health first. And then once that starts functioning properly, everything else just sort of follows and falls into place. This spring, if you're really wanting to see real results and you're working on your health journey, I really recommend giving this a try. Cowboy Colostrum is a super high quality bovine colostrum, 100% made in America from grass-fed cows. And what makes them different is that it's true first day whole colostrum. So it's packed with bioactives like immunoglobulins and growth factors. And don't worry, they only collect the surplus after the calves have what they need. That's first and foremost the most important thing to them. But we're also getting colostrum that's not stripped down or overly processed. You're getting the full nutrient density, like the protein and the healthy fats, all of it, which is why people notice things like less bloating and better skin, even hair growth and more consistent energy. I find that when I take this in the evening, I feel so much better in the morning. I'm not as bloated. I have more energy. My digestive system doesn't nearly act up as much when I take this the night before than it did before I even took colostrum. I've been adding this vanilla flavor into just plain water, room temperature water. You don't want to do too hot, but you can add it into iced coffee. You can add it into yogurt. You can add it into your smoothies, and it does taste really good. My husband and I, we both take it. We both love it. They have chocolate flavor. They have a strawberry flavor where they use real ingredients like freeze-dried strawberries. They do not use artificial flavors. So because of that factor and because it tastes really good, it's been a really easy habit to keep up with. So if you want to try it out, you can get up to 25% off of your order by using my code Susannah at www.cowboycolostrum.com/Susannah. The QR code is on the screen here if you want to check it out. Thank you so much to Cowboy Colostrum for sponsoring today's today's video. One of the most consistent things that people keep saying when I looked into this BookCon 2026 disaster was that the event felt like it was already over before it even started. People were actually inside the event and still felt like they were too late. Books were gone, signings were full, exclusives had already been claimed, and instead of feeling like you were a part of something happening, it felt like you were chasing something that had already passed you by, even if you didn't know it yet.
My honest review about BookCon 2026 as somebody with 0 reservations. And spoiler, it was not great. Truthfully, I couldn't even really vlog because there wasn't much to vlog. There were a ton of authors and a ton of tables, but the truth was is unless you had a reservation, you really didn't have a ton to do. Let me preface this by saying that I wish I had reservations, but they didn't really give us a chance because VIPs got really early access. Everything was basically sold out. I was on that queue like as soon as possible. Once you're there, I just want to start off with the first floor where it has like all the different publishing houses. Any chance of any type of like ARC or free giveaway. There was such a long line, it wasn't worth it for you to stand there and wait.
It's almost like, you know, when you go to Canada's Wonderland. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Canada's Wonderland, but that is like a staple of my childhood. Like we would go every single year. My mom got us season passes for I think Christmas the one year, so my husband and I could go. And it wasn't that bad when I was younger, but as we went like a couple summers ago, the lines were atrociously long. Okay, so long. And you're only on the ride for like 2 minutes. So you wait maybe an hour and a half to get on this ride just for 2 minutes of dopamine hit. And then it's like you wasted so much time waiting in this line for something that, you know, wasn't really necessarily worth it. And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel when they were in these queue lines. Like they were waiting and waiting and waiting with the anticipation of getting something great just to end up disappointed because by the time they got there, because of poor planning on the events part, they didn't get anything.
There and wait. When I say like anywhere between like an hour and a half to wait. And even if you weren't there for an ARC and you were trying to buy books, there really wasn't anybody to help you or a ton of options, truthfully. It kind of felt like there was no guidance. Like you didn't really know where to go or what to do. There was like
It seems like there's a lot of mismanagement and a lot of poor planning on BookCon's part. They should have been better prepared. I don't know what they were expecting. I understand that they may not have been expecting this to blow up as much as it did, not to have so many people come, but they had the tickets available. For me, it's kind of hard to connect the dots there. Like, how did you not have guidance? How do you not have staff to help navigate the lines, especially with how crowded people were saying it was?
There was like very little photo ops. They kept like promoting like photo opportunities. And I think I saw about like 3. Somebody who attends a lot of like conventions like New York Comic Con and even like beauty related conventions. Like I just came back from Ulta World. This one felt very disorganized and disheveled. A lot of people looked like they didn't know where they were going, including myself. I do have to say that Indie Alley was probably my favorite. It was a lot of people's favorite, but it just felt like a lot of like promoting of shopping, which is fine. Like there's a lot of like cutie opportunities, cutie shops. Again, half the room downstairs was for signing, and that was only if you had reservations, or a majority of them. Online, they lied and said that there was going to be a lot of like standby opportunities, that if you didn't get reservations, you would be able to like stand by. Nobody was able to do standby. Green line, they told you no. One thing I do have to say that was positive is that Barnes & Noble and like I think the Ribotas that was next door to it, every time an author did a lot of signings, they would bring the author some books and then you were given an opportunity to buy signed editions in their shop, which I really appreciated as somebody that wasn't able to get reservations for author signings.
Okay, so there is some positives, but overall the consensus is very negative. Very disorganized, very disheveled, like I mentioned before. Not well planned. And for someone who has been to a different convention, I haven't been to Comic-Con or any beauty conventions, but as I said, like I went to the health one. Again, I have a vlog of it, so you can go watch that. I'll link it somewhere on the screen here. I'm not a vlogger, okay? Don't judge for how poorly that vlog was done, but I did show you guys all the free stuff I got. And for conventions like that, I feel like that is the norm. Like you go up to a booth, you get to talk to the person, they tell you about the supplements or whatever product you're going to go see, and then they offer you something to take home, whether it's a sample or whether it's like a full-size bottle. Some companies are very generous with that kind of stuff. Camprev, for one, very generous. But it does seem like this whole thing was meant to promote shopping and to promote people buying books. And there's nothing wrong with supporting authors or publishers, or even the indie authors. I'd almost prefer you buy their books over the major publishers because they're trying to make it, they're trying to support the little guy. But it just seemed like people were paying for the event, paying to get stuff from the event, and then they didn't really get much in return. They didn't even get what they paid for in terms of an experience. When something is super disorganized like this too, it changes the entire tone of the day. You're going to be annoyed. You're going to be almost panicked because you're afraid you're going to miss the next thing that was on your list to do. Instead of enjoying what's in front of you, which from what I've heard, there wasn't much to enjoy. It was very crowded. People couldn't even move. You'd like walk in a herd of penguins. I went to the Louis Capaldi concert in Toronto. When you're watching this, it would have been last Wednesday. Absolutely wild trying to get in and out of Scotiabank Arena. My husband and I were just like kind of shuffling, going to Union Station, going to the GO train. It was like we were a herd of penguins just kind of shuffling forward. And it was absolutely insane. My social anxiety just can't. And that's what I imagine BookCon was like when I was listening to these experiences and reading what happened. But you're like checking schedules, you're refreshing the apps, you're trying to see like if there's still space somewhere so you can get at least something that you paid for. And if this was like a free event, I would say, okay, like people can't be too picky. I'm not sure what they were expecting. But when you pay for this experience, doesn't matter how much you're paying. When you're investing money into an experience and you don't get what was promised to you, they straight up lied to you about being in standby, for instance. You invested in being there. And so when the main attractions don't live up to the hype or don't live up to what was said, and they're effectively unavailable by the time majority of the people get there, it raises a bigger question as to how accessibility is being distributed in the first place. Not well. So, segueing into the overwhelming crowd, this is where people start to say this felt physically overwhelming, not just disappointing. People didn't even want to go for the next day that they paid for because they could not handle it. Now, before we get any further, there is a difference between an event being extremely busy versus an event being difficult to function in. From what people were saying, it wasn't just that there were a lot of people, it was that the space didn't seem to be organized in a way that could handle that many people moving through it at once. As the last person we just watched said, there was no guidance, there's no one to help you. A lot of people didn't know where they were going, and people ended up overstimulated, to say the least. Let's take a look at this video.
BookCon story time. Now, I told you guys I was going to give you a story time in regards to BookCon. I wrote a whole list on everything that I wanted to touch because, I usually just yap freely, but baby, I have points that I want to get to. First, everybody was asking because the first video I uploaded was how I was overstimulated by the 7th hour. They did have a quiet room. It was on the 4th floor. Problem with the quiet room was it wasn't quiet. 1, it was packed. 2, the lights were bright. 3, music was playing. I'm expecting literally a dim room, lots of space. They did have couches and chairs and stuff like that, but they also had a tarot reading event going on, and they also had a L'Oreal, the book box, selling special editions in the quiet room. That's not a quiet room. Don't get me wrong, it was quieter than the floor, but it was not a quiet room. If you see the picture that I uploaded, I'll put it right here. Me and my girls was on the 5th floor before the 5th floor closed and was just laying on the side of the hallway, just literally trying to catch a nap. I'd rather do that than go into that quiet room.
Even the designated quiet space was not quiet and was just, something that was not promised at all. Why were people selling things in the quiet room? Isn't that what the main floor is for with all the other vendors? Probably. Maybe they just ran out of space and just put them in the quiet room. And I feel like the biggest issue with BookCon right now was the fact that they didn't utilize the whole Javits Center. They only utilized part of it. And so a lot of the rooms were a lot smaller for the amount of people that were going. So there simply just wasn't enough room for everyone anyways. At the jump, this was just a disorganized jumble of chaos. And someone said on Reddit, yesterday I went to Matt Dinneman's panel and was so disappointed when I realized how small the room was for such a fan favorite. BookCon knew what a massive deal this was and chose to use one of the smaller rooms. The moderator even made jokes about how there were people waiting outside when Matt asked, who hasn't read the series yet? BookCon should consider renting a larger area in Javits. There was no reason for it to be that cramped. Someone else, it's obvious they sorely underestimated the popularity of BookCon. They won't, I hope, make the same mistake next year. Another person said it's so odd because all the evidence is that they way underestimated underestimated the popularity of it, but they sold the tickets. Exactly what I've been saying. They knew how many people bought them and how fast they went. Such a weird juxtaposition. Absolutely crazy. And that Reddit comment really does capture the whole problem with this event. Panels were placed in rooms that were too small, while larger areas weren't being used effectively. Suddenly you have people packed into one area while other spaces feel oddly empty, vendors in places they shouldn't be, and it makes the whole event feel chaotic even if technically there is enough room. It just was a poor management situation. People planned for that moment. They made time for it, they prioritized it, maybe even skipped something else to be there, took time off work, are actively losing money as I mentioned earlier. So when people get in, it's not just like, I missed that, I'll catch the next one. No, that was the whole reason they were going, and it was so poorly managed that they couldn't even be able to experience it. Also, the whole author signing setup where things were placed inside just didn't make sense. A lot of authors were hidden. People didn't come to their table because they simply did not know that they were even there or that they existed. So not only was the scheduling just mismatched, but the whole layout of the event was mismatched. From what attendees described, some author tables were placed right beside large publisher booths, which meant the visual focus was completely skewed. You'd see a big crowd and assume that's where you need to be, while the actual signing you're looking for is tucked into the side or blending into the background or hidden behind a bigger publishing table. Peggy Jagger, a romance author, commented on one of the videos we previously watched, said, "As a signing author, I had a terrible time because a publisher was next to my booth and their freebie line blocked my table so no one knew I was there." Obviously, because it was freebies and there wasn't a lot of freebies given out at this event, people were flocking to it. Of course they want to get their freebies. So unfortunately, that author didn't even get anyone to come to her table because it was overshadowed by people crowding this other table. Another thing people had issues with were the lack of freebies, but some people were doing their hauls. We'll watch that first and then we'll get into the comments.
Yes, I went to BookCon and I'm going to show you what I got. I did have so much fun at BookCon. I really did.
At least one person had fun.
Am I like 0.3 seconds away from a panic attack because there were so many people there and it was so crowded and I kind of just was like very overstimulated? Yes. Yes. But, you know, we persevered. So the first thing I did get was this tote, $35 at BookCon.
You have to pay for the tote even? You don't even get a free tote? You have to pay $35 for the bag? That's insane.
Okay, the line for the merch was very long, but it was worth it because I feel like it's so cute and it had like a pocket inside. On the merch line as well, I got this shirt. They only had a large, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be cute. We'll make it work. This was $30. I got these two stickers. I think these were $5 each, $3 each.
The stickers weren't even free. You'd think stickers would be free and the tote bag would be free. Why are they charging $5 for stickers? I get merch for the event is how they probably raise money, but they sold the tickets too. So I think at this point it's just being greedy, if I'm gonna say what's on my mind.
I got this really cute tote. I don't know. I just really liked it, guys. It was so cute. It was only $15. Now, funny story.
I prefer that tote over the initial tote, if I'm honest.
They only had one left, and it was like the display one that was on a hook, and they were like, listen, you can have it, but no one here can reach it. There's no one here tall enough to reach it, and, you know, a man is good for some things, and I'm happy that I brought my fiance because he was like, yeah, I can get it, no problem, took it right off, okay? So, honestly, my favorite part was in the alley. Ugh. First of all, it was the least, like, crowded, and it was the most, like, organized, in my opinion. I saw 3 authors that I wanted to at India Alley. I saw Amber Palmer. Now, Amber Palmer has one of, like, my all-time favorite cowboy romances. The first one that she wrote was Between the Pines. Okay. Cute. Through the Dust. Still have to read After the Rain. It's on my list for cowboy. I want to do another theme month, but maybe we're going to do a whole month of reading just cowboy romances, okay? But I got these, the fan art inside. That all was free. Then I did get...
The fact that the fan art was free, that's like, I'm glad, but I would almost rather pay the money for the fan art to support the artist that author hired maybe, than all this other junk that isn't necessarily the cutest, to me anyway.
2 signed books from 2 indie authors, okay? The first book I did get was Lady of Darkness, and I got it signed. Okay?
That's a pretty book. I will say that cover is stunning. Of course, there's a sword on it. If you didn't watch my assessment of BookTok books and the publishing industry. You can watch that. But a lot of fantasy books now have swords on them because it's trending in the fantasy market. So a lot of publishers, I don't know if this is indie. Well, actually, no, this is indie published. Never mind. But people look at the successful books in their niche and then they'll design covers based on those covers, if that makes sense.
Okay, have I read anything in this series? No, but I know that everyone on BookTok is so obsessed with this book, and I know that she just got trad published. So we're going to make sure that we get the indie cover and we get it signed. $30, which I feel like is a good deal because it was signed, and you know that these are going to go out of print pretty soon. And then I got, on my cowboy romance, I got Cowboy Casual by Holly Renee. Oh, she was so cute. Her and her husband were there. Such an adorable little duo. He had a shirt that said Mr. Holly Renee. So adorable. Sign it. I think it was... Then I went over to the ripped bodice table, and I am a sucker for a blind date with a book.
No, a blind date with a book? Bro, no.
Okay, it says she's a burlesque club owner and he's the newest catcher for the Yankees. And just like that, I was done. I was like, yes, sign me up. I don't know what's in this book, but I want it. Okay, and I feel like I don't want to open it until I'm ready to read it. But so cute, so cute. And then this was $15.
What if it's absolute trash? Not saying it is, but that's the gamble you make with blind date with a book. So you paid $15 for a book you probably most likely will not read. I'm not saying she won't. I'm just saying the whole blind date with a book premise, not a fan to say the least.
Okay. And then that is like about it. The only thing, hold on. I need a sip of my Celsius because God, I'm tired.
Same.
Last kind of thing that I did get was these just like cute, it has nothing to do with books.
Okay, so I won't say that that's like an insane amount of money, but for a convention, typically I'd say things should be free. You should be able to get more free stuff. From what I saw in the comments on this, they said it's kind of insane to me that there wasn't much free stuff. I know there was tickets, but did you have to pay the most expensive ticket price to get any free things? Not saying authors should be giving out free stuff, but the event didn't even have free totes or stickers. This creator said no, like same. Like not obligated to get any freebies things at all, but they made it seem like you would leave BookCon with so many free books and goodies, and there was just legit some stickers and bookmarks. Perhaps BookCon did previously give out more free stuff. I'm not sure what happened with this one. The convention I went to, I've only been to one, so I don't have a lot of experience to base this off, but I just think that's the way it should be. If you're paying for a ticket, you should be able to get more free stuff than just a tote and some bookmarks. Let me know if you agree with that. And this one's a little more out there, a little more snarky. It's a little bit more of a honest comment, I'd say. And this person said that's because the organizers got greedy. They wanted the lower cost of a smaller space, then crammed it to the gills to squeeze every last dollar out of the attendees. BookCon is supposed to be a celebration of books, authors, and fans, not a human traffic jam simulator. There's no reason it should feel like San Diego Comic-Con at peak hours when you're forced to penguin walk. I'm glad someone else referenced that because that's what I felt like walking through large crowds like that. Just to move 10 feet and it takes half an hour to cross the floor. And the worst part, it wasn't even organized chaos, just bottlenecks everywhere, lines bleeding into walkways, and no real crowd control. Panels were stressful instead of fun, booths felt inaccessible, and half the time you were just stuck waiting. So the bigger question is, was this worth it, especially for paying the $400 price tag? A lot of people will say no, but there are some reviews out there that say that this was a good event, they had a great time. Some people still had fun, still found moments they enjoyed despite all of the chaos. One person posted on Reddit about their potentially hot take, I had the time of my life at BookCon. When reservations first dropped for BookCon, I didn't get a single one, not a signing, not a panel, nothing. I had a weekend ticket and was devastated that I wasn't going to meet any authors. Fast forward to the actual con, I managed to snag 4 reservations and 3 panels for big names throughout the weekend by refreshing the reservation page every single day. But that's not all. I met countless authors in Indie Alley, not to mention the fact that I joined 3 or 4 non-res signings. This was not only my first BookCon, but my first convention ever. I went into the weekend not wanting any arcs or galleys, and because of that, I was able to spend my time wandering and exploring. I even managed to see Rachel Reed despite not having a reservation and her not having a standby line. My takeaway was that if you were only there for the free things, you weren't gonna have a good time. So it really just depends on who you ask, what their expectations were, if they did more planning before actually getting there, because if you didn't plan anything, if you didn't pay extra for things or sign up for the reservations and expected to get into those and and have an opportunity to do what you wanted to do, then I can understand like you'd be disappointed when you weren't able to get those things that were promised to you. But if you didn't do that and you just went there and then you ended up being able to snag this stuff, then of course you're going to have a better time because your expectations were lower. But I think looking at both sides, there was a clear pattern of more people walking away very disappointed and more angry and not willing to go to the next BookCon just because of how poorly this one was. It just did not deliver on what was promised. And unfortunately, that's going to sway people's anticipation of the next BookCon. My question to you guys, if you went to BookCon 2026, how did it feel for you? Did you enjoy it? Are you going to go to the next BookCon? Let me know. Did it feel actually worth it to you, or did you feel like you paid for something that didn't actually deliver? That's it for today's video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. That would be very much appreciated. God bless you all, and until next time.
Welcome to Plot Twist Please, where we sip, flip, and spill the tea on books and booze.
I'm Beth.
I'm Susannah.
And I'm Cass, your trio of book besties, bringing the drama, the hot takes, and a drink in hand every episode.
Whether it's fantasy, romance, or total chaos, if there's a wild plot twist, we're talking about it.
We'll laugh, we'll rant, and we'll probably spiral into a tangent about morally gray characters.
Grab your favorite drink, enchanted or otherwise, and come hang out with us every week.
Because let's be honest, sometimes the best part of a book is spilling the tea about it. Plot Twist Please, streaming now wherever you can get your podcasts.